I'm Brandon Joelle, if you don't know who I am, and I'm 18 now. We're gonna jump right into this video because it's kind of long. Basically, in 2015, 5 years ago, I had a brain tumor in my cerebellum, which the cerebellum is the part of the brain that controls the balance and coordination. Essentially, I lost a lot of those motor skills, I guess. So I had to relearn them. So basically this month, May, is Brain Tumor Awareness Month. And the color is gray, which is why I'm wearing gray. It's the awareness color. And basically I had my brain tumor removed 5 years ago in May. So ever since I found out that May was Brain Tumor Awareness Month, I kind of became not really an advocate, but like I speak out about it more. And I try to get more people involved in understanding what happens with brain tumors, because a lot of people don't know, surprisingly. I wanted to make this video, one, to show my support for brain tumor awareness, two, to show brain tumor survivors or current patients now that I stand with them and I know what they're going through, and I'd love to help in any way I can. And three, to share my personal story, because nobody besides my family that lived through it with me knows about it. I never really shared the full story testimony about it, which is kind of a lot, so bear with me, but that's what this video is going to be about. So basically, like I said, in 2015 I had a brain tumor. I didn't know about it though. So basically, I was at school and I had a pre-scheduled eye doctor's appointment, kind of normal day, you know. My mom had to pick me up from school. So basically she picked me up, and I was in 7th grade at the time. I just graduated, actually. But anyway, so I was in 7th grade at the time, and it was closer to the end of the year, you know, because it's May. She picked me up, and I left. All my friends were just like, bye, Bree, see you tomorrow. Whatever, they didn't really. None of us expected anything, you know? We all thought I would be back the next day, and it wasn't a big deal, you know? I was just gonna get my new glasses, get my eyes checked, normal stuff. Yeah, I had my normal checkup, whatever, and they checked the eye test, like, for some reason it, like, came back weird. So they were like, this doesn't seem normal for somebody your age. So they decided to do some further tests on my eyes. So basically, like, tests that patients with diabetes or, like, at-risk people would have. They gave me those tests. So, like, intense eye scans and things like that. And lots of bright lights, like more than normal. I had those. So my appointment was supposed to be only, like, you know, normal eye appointments are like an hour. This turned into 3 hours. So basically they told my mom they were going to do more tests on my eyes. And they said they don't know what's going on, but it doesn't seem normal. So my mom called my dad, and he met us there, just in case something bad did happen. So I'm grateful that she decided to call him and have him show up as well. But, so basically, they were doing the test on my eyes, and then, after I was done, we were waiting for results, so they let me pick my glasses and stuff. And so basically, about 20 minutes later, they said, Bree, we have your results. we want you to come back, but in the rooms, but we want your parents to come with you. I was confused because I live in a small town, so like all the doctors knew me. So usually they would give me results and stuff on my own. But it was weird to me that they called my parents back too. So yeah, we went in there, and I remember she turned the lights off, and she like had pictures of my eye scans on the computer monitor. And sorry, I'm getting teary already. I wasn't expecting to. So I was sitting with my parents, my dad on this side, me in the middle, and then my mom on this side. And they used a lot of big words that I didn't understand. And I heard the word hemorrhaging, which I didn't know what it meant. So basically bleeding, basically. So they said I had hemorrhaging on the back of my optic nerve. So they were going to send me to a specialty eye doctor. So they gave my dad the card for this eye doctor, and we sat in the lobby while my dad called them because, you know, my eye doctor wanted to know everything, all the details about our appointment and stuff. So, yeah. I still fully didn't understand everything, but my parents did. So yeah, we went home after my dad scheduled the appointment, and he scheduled the appointment for the next day. So I wouldn't be going to school because that appointment, the specialty eye doctor, was in Toledo, and I live about an hour and a half away from Toledo, maybe 2 hours. So I wouldn't be able to go to school that day because we would spend the whole day driving there, the appointment, then driving back. So when the next day came, my dad drove me all the way to Toledo. It was just me and my dad. My mom had work and stuff. My brothers had school, so it was just us. And I don't remember much. I remember the eye doctor's office was huge, like a huge office building. So I had tests, basically the same ones that they did at the other eye doctor place, but a little more in depth. So did those. We had to wait about an hour for the results. So we were like, yeah, when we go home, I'm not going to be able to go to school. Like, school's going to be over by the time we get back. Yeah. So we waited, and the doctor called us in and told us my results, and which obviously I didn't understand. I was 13, but yeah. So he said they were right, there is hemorrhaging on the back of her optic nerve, and we don't know what it is, but it is a lot. So we're gonna admit her into the Toledo Children's Hospital. So you guys drive there right away and get admitted, and they're gonna do more tests on her, further like brain scans and stuff. So I was so scared, I didn't understand. But yeah, so we went to the Toledo Children's Hospital and got admitted right away. I was surprised how fast they moved, but yeah. And so they scheduled a couple tests and stuff, and then I had a big MRI scan that night. And so I had to wait for that. My mom and brother met us there. And basically, when they wheeled me down for the MRI, my dad took my brother home and my mom stayed with me. It was late at night when I got back to the hospital room. It was like 11, 10:30 or 11, which is pretty late for me as a 13-year-old. So we got back in my room, and I was really thirsty and hungry. They wouldn't let me eat or drink anything just because they didn't know what was going on, so they didn't know what kind of tests they needed to do. So yeah, my mom and I watched a movie, or we started a movie, and then the doctor came in, and her assistant and a couple other people, and they pulled my mom out, and they were like, "We need to talk to you. Call your husband." So she called my dad. And side story, we found out a couple days later that that doctor was is a friend from our church's daughter. So we actually never met her, but the lady talked about her daughter a lot and was like, yeah, she's a doctor. She's like, yeah, she was like bragging about her all the time. So it was kind of cool to meet her and to say that she was my first doctor in that experience. That's kind of cool. But anyway, so I fell asleep. I ended up falling asleep because I was waiting so long for them to come back, and they didn't come back. So I fell asleep, and basically I woke up around 12:30, midnight, and I was being moved. Like, they were transferring me. I was sleeping, so like they were trying to transfer me from my hospital bed I was in to a gurney, and I was confused. I woke up because I felt movement, and so and I was small. I still am small. I'm only 5'0" now, and yeah, so I was like 4'9", 4'10" then, really tiny. But yeah, so they were moving me, and I woke up because of it. And basically, I was really confused. And so they got me on the gurney and started wheeling me through the hospital and then outside. And I was extremely confused. So I kept asking, like, my mom, because she was right there. I kept asking her what was going on, and she wouldn't tell me at first. And then they started getting me into an ambulance. And that's when I was like, okay, Mom, what's going on? And then she was like, honey, you have a pretty big brain tumor, so they're transporting you from here to the Cleveland Clinic, because they said the Cleveland Clinic has better pediatric neurosurgeons. So I was like, oh, okay. I was tearing up, obviously. Being told that as a kid, like, it's a lot. I'm tearing up right now if you can't tell. But I've never told this story to anyone, so it's kind of weird talking about it right now to a camera. But yeah, so I was in the ambulance, and so it was about a 2-hour drive. Yeah, so we got there. They still wouldn't let me eat or drink anything. They wheeled me to the pediatric ICU and hooked me up to a bunch of like IVs and different test things. And they were like, we're going to do a lot of tests with you tomorrow, like MRIs, CAT scans, things like that. So I was like, okay. So they were like, fall asleep. And I was like, I can't. I feel like I'm dying. I need water. And they were like, no. So yeah, I wasn't allowed to drink until the next day. I honestly don't even remember falling asleep. I think I might have passed out, honestly, because I didn't drink anything that whole entire day. But yeah, I don't know. I don't remember falling asleep. And I don't remember waking up the next day either. But obviously I remember the next day. So basically they did the test on me, CAT scans, MRIs, things like that. They were like, we don't know exactly where this tumor is or exactly how big it is, but it is pretty big. So I was like, cool beans, bro. No, I was scared, actually, very. And yeah, so they did tests on me and stuff. And then they started scheduling a surgery to remove the tumor. And they were like, they scheduled it a week out. Because that was like the 9th or 10th I got there. So they scheduled my surgery for the 18th of May. And so they were like, by then, we will know where the tumor is, how big it is, everything like that. So yeah. Next thing I remember is a couple days after that, this dude just came into my ICU room. And you know, the ICU has giant windows. So people in the hallway, like nurses, can see you in case something happens. They had me in the ICU because they didn't know how severe my situation was. So yeah, dude came into my room. Like then a nurse, he walked in, and my room was right by the doors to get in and out. So he walked into the hallway, and a nurse met him and just pointed him into my room. So he walked in, and he was like, I'm going around the ICU praying for all the kids, and you're my first one. Can I pray for you? And my mom is a big believer, so she was like, okay, sure. So she let him pray over me, and first off, he kneeled at the foot of my bed and prayed for me silently. And then about 5 minutes later, he got up and held my hand, and he was just like, it's gonna be okay. And then he just got up and started walking out. And so my mom was like, excuse me, sir, like, what's your name? Where are you from? Like, tell us something about you. We don't know who you are. So he like half turned. You know how like when you're nervous and like you're walking and then you like go like shuffle this way? That's what he did. He was like, my name is Peter. Like, he seemed very unsure. Like, he was just trying to come up with something. And so he walked out of my room and then just walked out the same doors he came in. He didn't go to see the other kids like he said he would. So, yeah. That was interesting, and that is one thing from that experience I won't forget. Fun story about Peter I forgot to include. So basically, my mom called him my guardian angel after that. She kept saying he was looking over me and that I was really lucky that what happened to me, the way it happened to me. And she credits him for that as my guardian angel. So I thought that was interesting, and I forgot to include it, so voiceover. Yeah. So then after that, I remember a bunch of scans. All the days blended together. Scans, tests, more IVs, tests, meetings with doctors, you know. I can't remember day by day, but yeah. So eventually they found out where the tumor was and how fast they figured out how fast it was growing, because it didn't really grow between my time at the Toledo hospital and there. It was a couple days after. And so they were like, okay, it hasn't really grown that much, so it must be very slow growing. So because it was so slow growing, they are thinking that I've had it for a long time and that it's been there for a long time. They don't exactly have a way of finding out how long the tumor has been growing or how long it's been there, but they're thinking it's been a long time because it was growing so slow. So they moved me to the cancer floor, the pediatric cancer floor. and because they didn't know if the tumor was cancerous or not. So they did more tests, found out how big the tumor was, which was about, they told me, the size of a plum or small apple, which when you take into account your head, like a small apple inside your head is pretty big if you think about it. So yeah, it was a pretty big tumor. And it was in my cerebellum. So if you don't know where it is, the cerebellum is in the back of the head, right? So the stem of the neck, right between there and where the head ends, it's right there. Pretty big tumor. It was leaning more on the right side. So they prepared me with the cerebellum controls your balance and coordination and fine motor skills. So you might lose some of that, mostly on your right side. So I was like, great, okay. And so yeah, they did a bunch of MRIs on me, like a whole bunch. And one I specifically remember, they had to, like, it was a couple days before my surgery, they had to measure where the tumor was, like exactly where it was, so they knew where to cut and stuff for the surgery. So they had to put these little stickers on my head, and all the stickers kind of looked like Cheerios. So I wanted Cheerios after. But anyway, I'll insert a picture right here. That was from a day after. They told me to leave the stickers on because they were going to do a couple more tests with those. So yeah, they looked a lot like Cheerios. But so I remember that test well because of the Cheerio stickers. But yeah, so that was to measure exactly how big the tumor was, or how big they thought it would be, and where it was located specifically. So yeah, they did that, and then I don't really remember much after that. I got a lot of visitors, but they were all like from my church. None of like my school friends or anything came to visit me. Just, I remember some of that, but not a lot. But yeah, so my surgery, May 18th. So they moved me to this big hospital room, and they were like, you can get ready in here, and once you're ready, we can have all your family members and everyone here to see you, in here with you, before we take you. So I was like, okay. So I got ready for my surgery, and stuff. They got me ready. And then my parents were allowed to come in, and my brothers. And my aunt was there, and a couple of people from my church were there, just to like pray with my parents while I was in surgery. So they were getting me ready, playing some songs and stuff to kind of encourage me and help me through. And yeah, sorry, I'm already starting to tear up about it. This part's emotional for me. So they took me down for my surgery. I remember my dad went with me. I was allowed to have one parent walk with me down for my surgery until I fell asleep with the anesthesia. So my dad went down with me, but they made him wear this like suit. It was like kind of like a hazmat suit sort of, but it was like white. It made him look like a rabbit, or like a bunny, like a marshmallow bunny, or like Baymax from Big Hero 6. Yeah, it was weird. But so I remember that. And then yeah, they brought me into the room for my surgery. He sat with me. They brought him in the chair, and he just sat right next to my bed until I fell asleep. And then they did my surgery. So after I found out that my surgery was between 9 and 12 hours, so pretty long. Yeah, so obviously I don't remember much after that. I also forgot to say this. So after they took my tumor out, they did tests on it, and it was not cancerous. It was benign. But before they took it out, they, like, with their tests, they were like 80% sure it was cancerous or something. So my mom told me they were actually starting to prepare chemo, but they chose not to tell me. They didn't want to scare me. But yeah, it ended up being benign, so that's a good thing. My brother said it took me a few days to come to, and like I was in and out, of sleep and whatever, because I was very drugged up. They had to put me on steroids and stuff to kind of control the pain. Yeah, it was very painful. I still remember the pain. But the recovery was the hardest part. So, sorry. So, sorry about that. I had to pause that clip and start a new one a couple minutes later because I was crying. So, in this next clip, I look a little happier, so that's why, just so you know. So, the recovery process from that surgery, I remember, the first thing I remember is waking up. I woke up once, and I remember my dad was in the room, and he was like, "You're finally awake." And I was like, "Huh?" And he was like, "It's been like 2 days." And I was like, "What?" They had me like in this recovery room, and he was like, "Let me go get you a popsicle and tell the doctors." I was like, "What? Okay." So he left, and then I fell back asleep, and I don't remember anything after that. And then probably the next day, I don't know, I woke up for a little bit. Like my dad and mom woke me up, and my grandpa was there. I didn't even get to see him before my surgery. He showed up right when I went in for surgery, so I didn't get to see him. But he flew down from Connecticut to see me and be with my parents and brothers. So I remember he woke me up, and he gave me like this giant teddy bear that I still have. And yeah, I remember he gave that to me, and then I fell back asleep. And he said bye, and then walked away, and I fell asleep again. So, after that, I remember mostly some of the recovery process, but because I was so drugged up on medications and everything, and in and out of it, and brain stuff, they had to take the good and bad tissue around where the tumor was, just to make sure they got it all. So it was really hard for me, because the tumor was leaning more on my right side. I had a lot of trouble with my right side. I was about 75% paralyzed on my right side, so I had to relearn how to walk, how to move, how to write, all with my right hand, and I was right-handed before. So because of that, I had to learn how to do things with my left hand. So the good thing about that was now I'm ambidextrous, so that means I can use both hands for whatever, which is nice, for taking notes and stuff. But anyway, so I honestly don't remember a lot of my recovery process. That's because I was on so much medication, to pain medication and stuff. I do remember the day I got to go home. I was with my mom, and we were listening to, we called it My Song, because the whole Peter situation, my mom called him my guardian angel. So, Shoulders by For King and Country. If you watch the music video, it's about a guardian angel walking around and helping people out of situations and stuff. Yeah. So, and honestly, the guy that they used in the video reminded me of Peter. Like, his stature and stuff just reminded me of him. So, that was my song for the longest time. And so, yeah. So, I do remember that. We were listening to that song, and the nurses came in, and they were like, "You finally get to go home." And they gave us my discharge papers. It was about 2 weeks after my surgery. And so the sad part is my brother's birthday is May 20th, my younger brother, and we're like best friends. I missed his birthday that year, and I felt so bad about it. I kept saying happy birthday. Like, because I was so drugged up and stuff, I just kept repeating happy birthday to everybody. That was like my favorite phrase, I guess. Yeah. So, they gave the discharge papers, and apparently my mom said I said happy birthday to the nurses, and they were like, thanks. So with the surgery, it was kind of like a brain injury in a way, because I would like say things and not know I said them. I would do things and not know I did them. Like, I just would not remember, and it wouldn't register with me. I just did it. It was like a thing programmed in my brain because it was, in a way, hurt. So, yeah. And so, yeah, I got to go home, and, yeah, the recovery process from there was a lot. I had a walker because I still couldn't fully walk on my own. Because, you know, like I said, my right side was pretty bad. So I had a walker. My head was always wrapped up because, you know, my scar was in the back of my head, and it was like a lot for me. Also, they did not shave the back of my head. When I went back to school after that, a lot of my classmates were surprised that my head wasn't shaved. And that's because I have a lot of hair, so, and it's always been really long. So basically they braided my hair, and since the tumor was in the back, they just shaved the area they needed in the back. So basically they parted it and then just shaved around that. So I got to keep all my hair except for that area, and there's still a little patch of skin that the hair never grew back there. Because of that in the back of my head, but I'm not going to show you because it's kind of weird. But yeah, so I had physical and occupational therapy to get my right side moving again and learn how to walk or keep walking. Yeah, and then in June, it was probably like June 5th or 6th. It was a Sunday, I remember that. My head, where my scar was, started leaking. Like, water, like, it looked like water. It was like this clear liquid. Just started seeping out of my head, out of my scar. And, my mom was actually, because I was sleeping on the couch, because I needed the back rest of the couch. Because of where my scar was. It was like a lot for me. So I needed that. So I slept on the couch, and my mom was cleaning up my bed. It was Sunday morning. We were getting ready for church. And my mom noticed my pillow, just nowhere else on my pillow, just where that spot would be, like where I put my head on my pillow, was wet. And then she went to do my hair because I like to have it braided before it was wrapped, just to keep my hair out of the way. So she was doing my hair, and she realized that area was wet too, of my head. So basically she took a tissue and wiped it off, and then she realized once that area was dry, she saw where my scar was, and realized that liquid was dripping out of my scar area through a hole or something. And so she got panicked, and she immediately called the Cleveland Clinic and asked to talk to my doctor, or the surgeon that was in charge of my surgery. But she couldn't get a hold of her because she was in another operation. So she got in touch with her assistant instead. And he basically told us, he kind of guided us through what to do with things like that. And he was like, just wait for Dr. Racinos to call you. She will call you later. As soon as she's done with this operation, I will tell her what's going on, and she'll call you guys and kind of instruct you on what to do. Because he didn't know what to do either. So we waited for her. My mom and I didn't go to church that day. So we waited for her call. And she called us later. A couple hours later, and she was like, hi, what's going on? And so my mom explained everything to her, that fluid was leaking out of my scar, and she was like, that does not sound normal. So she was like, come to the Cleveland Clinic emergency room. Emergency section is the same building, but it's just the emergency section. She was like, go there, they'll check you out, and then they'll admit you into a room, and I'll come see you. So that's what we did. I had to wait in the emergency section for a couple hours, and they were just checking out my head, checking out my scar, cleaning it, seeing what was going on. And so they admitted me, brought me up to a room, and it was late that night, so they just told us to go to bed. So we did. And then the next morning, early in the morning, like 8 or 9, I was still asleep. My doctor walked in, and my mom woke me up. And she was like, hey, she's here. So she told us that from what the nurses were saying to her and everything, and our story about what was going on, she wanted to do some tests. So I had a couple more MRIs. So after the MRIs, the next day, they told us it was spinal fluid. Spinal fluid was like leaking out of my scar incision area. So they were like, this actually is not a normal thing at all. We don't really deal with it that much. I think before me, they've only dealt with it once or twice, and that was a long, long time ago, before she was even there. So, they kind of, not experiment, but like they had to figure out what to do before I had my surgery for it. So basically, a couple days later, on my parents' anniversary, I had another surgery in June to repair that area and stop it from leaking. And it worked for a while. So after that, got to go home again. And then in July, we were supposed to go for a family reunion in Connecticut. And we were packing. We were supposed to leave on my dad's birthday in July. So we were packing. It was a couple days before. And yeah. And then I got ready for bed, and my head felt wet. Like, I was just like getting my hair out of the way, and I felt my head and it was wet. So I was like, Mom, come here. So she looked at it, and she was like, it can't be leaking again. What is happening? So, yeah, it was late that night, so she just wrapped my head up, and she was like, you go to bed, go to sleep, and in the morning I will call again. So she called them. It was Sunday again. Something about me and Sundays, I don't know, but it was a Sunday morning. She called, and she was like, it's happening again. The same exact thing that happened last month is happening again. And so they were like, okay, bring her in. So they brought me in, same way, through the emergency section. And yeah, then they admitted me, and my doctor, or the surgeon, came and checked me out, and she was like, I don't understand. We moved a bone in your neck last time to stop it from leaking. I don't know why it's leaking again. So they had to kind of get creative, I guess. So I had another surgery on my dad's birthday, the day we were supposed to leave for vacation. Yeah. So,
Side note that you probably already predicted, but I didn't specifically say this. Since my surgery was that day, we ended up not going on vacation because of that, because I was too sick and in too much pain to travel. So yeah.
so I have pictures. I'll insert them right here.
So this picture was actually taken a couple days before my first brain surgery. I just thought it was important to share this one. This picture is from when I went into the emergency room the second time to get checked. So yeah. This picture was from after they took the tubes out, and that's why I have little braids going off to the sides, because that was around the area where they shaved to put the tubes in. So yeah, this was taken right after they took them out.
There's some pictures from that surgery. So basically, most of those are taken before or after that third surgery. So basically, there were these tubes in my head. Actually, the scars are right here. I don't know if you can see them. They're kind of shaved. I have bald spots there because of it. Yeah, so basically they had to put tubes up here to drain back here. So yeah, one was like a funnel, and the other was like just a tube connected to like a drain. And yeah, so basically that happened, and those pictures were all taken after they took the tubes out. It was kind of very gross to see. I actually did, my parents took a couple pictures just for me to see with my tubes in, and it's kind of gross, so I'm not gonna risk putting them in this video. But yeah, so they removed the tubes and put in staples up here, and then yeah, I had to go back like a month later to get the staples taken out, along with my stitches. So yeah, then I went home. And yeah, so a lot of people don't know, I actually had 3 surgeries, not just one. That's kind of my story. Then, so obviously that was summer, the end of the school year in summer. So then the next school year, 8th grade, I didn't get to go back to school until like November. So I missed marching season, which I wasn't allowed to march with the band anyway. At that point, my band, my school, it's small, so we have the 7th and 8th graders a part of the high school band. But because of that year, I still was learning to walk still again. So I wasn't allowed to march with them anyway, and I wasn't allowed to play my instrument either until a week before I went back to school. So yeah, the day I went back was kind of weird. It felt like starting at a new school. I felt like nobody knew me anymore, you know? Because I walked in and people were just giving me fragile little hugs, like I was They treated me like I was a fragile piece of glass, kind of.
So I was trying to think of an analogy for how people treated me, but as I was filming, I couldn't think of the right words. That's why I said piece of glass. But I meant a porcelain doll, kind of how you would touch or treat a porcelain doll. That's how they treated me. So,
which I get. If I had a friend that went through all that, I would be that way too. But I guess I would communicate more with them. Yeah. So it was really weird for me starting that day. It really felt like I was starting at a new school. I felt like I didn't know anybody anymore because I missed the end of 7th grade and the beginning of 8th. So it was so weird for me to see. Anyway, that's my story. So I hope you guys maybe got something out of it or learned more about me. If you know me, yeah, there's a reason that I haven't shared that story before. I'm sharing it now because it has been 5 years ago, and I'd like to say I'm pretty recovered. I'd say about 95% recovered, not fully 100% yet. I'm still working on it a little bit, but I'm doing a lot better than I was. So, for any brain tumor survivors, I love you and I stand with you. And if you want to talk to me, I'll link my Instagram in the description of this video, so you can like find it and DM me or whatever. And yeah, and if anybody going through a brain tumor or health situation, whether it's the patient or family watching this, I stand with you. And if you have any questions about anything or anything at all, or just want to talk about it with someone that understands what's going on and has been through it, I'm here for you. Just message me, and yeah, I'd love to connect with all of you. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I'm gonna edit this video right now because I'm filming it on the 18th because I filmed it a couple days ago, and I went to edit it and the whole thing got deleted for some reason. So now I'm filming it on a different camera. So hopefully it works better, and I'm gonna, as soon as I get this edited, I'm gonna put it up because I'm filming this on the 18th and I really want to post it on the 18th. So yeah, thanks for watching.